So here we go. What I've got here on the screen is Fusion 360. So on the Greene and Greene draw pulls that I'm creating, and I have a certain design criteria that I follow myself when I'm designing a fixture, and I always start out with the base. That's the thing that the part's going to fit on, and so this is my base here. I have already done some work to this um, base, and what I do is I start with a base. And if you see these slots, they're like dado slots. I would do that if I was in a machine shop and I was going to create a fixture and I wanted some end stops or some back, what we call a rail, to put the part up against or put in some rails or something in order to make that fixture easier. If I was making this out of steel or aluminum, I would do the same thing. No difference. This is so taking my experience from my workplace and things that I've done all along my career, I'm doing the same thing. So in a reel like that, what I would do is to add in some different components. So up against this back rail here, this area here, not the whole slot yet, but just this back face. I want something that if I was going to press up against that face, I don't want just screws holding a piece in. So I want something that's going to be strong. I'm going to press up against this in this direction here, the way that my mouse is showing. There we go. The way that my mouse is showing. Up against that. I'm going to put force going in that direction. There's going to be a big cam here, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But from here, pressing this way up against that surface, that area there, that little ridge in there, gives me enough surface area so that when I put a rail in there, it's going to be very, very strong. Of course, I'm going to glue it in with wood glue. I'm going to have some holes in the bottom, and I'm going to have some screws coming in from the bottom up into the rail. That's going to help to solidify it. This area here is just it doesn't need to be strong. It doesn't need to be recessed in the way that this one is. It's just for an end stop, but it's going to be easy for me to cut this slot. We're going to get to that because this whole thing is all about using Fusion 360 to design a fixture and machine it all in Fusion 360. It's a little bit of a challenge for me. I've never done this. I have Aspire. I could easily transfer this to Aspire, but I'm doing it in Fusion 360. So this end rail, whoops, let me try to do this again. Again, I'm telling you that this is everything here I'm doing is brand new. So that end rail that goes into that slot over there is right here. If you could see it on the side, I created all these components already. Again, this is not a tutorial. I am not qualified to do a tutorial in Fusion 360. But, so this is my end rail that I'm going to be putting into that place in the fixture. I'll show you the rest of the parts that I'm going to put together. This is the pivot to go into the hole for the cam. This here piece is, let me see if I can pull it up here. Here it is. That's the model. You could see it's not totally complete, but that's a model that I created in Fusion 360. I'm actually not using the Fusion 360 model. I recreated that in Aspire, and that just works out a little bit better for me. Here I was just trying to learn how to use Fusion, so I did. It works okay. This is the end stop. That is that little piece I said it doesn't need to be strong, but that's going to fit into that little dado area. Excuse me. And this is the cam. Come on, open up. Let's go. There we go. This is the cam. It's a 1/2 inch hole in the middle, and the outside is 5 inch diameter. And the only thing I did on the hole, I don't know if you can really see it or not, but there's the cross lines here. I just offset the hole from the center 1/2 inch. So it's got a total throw of about 1 inch. Clamping up against the part, I don't want to clamp the cam against the part itself. I don't want to leave any kind of marks, anything like that. So I want to have, plus the Greene and Greene draw slide is not straight across the sides. It's got a little bit of a curve to it. So I want to clamp something that's straight. So I got this thing called the clamp spacer. You'll see it in a minute. And again, these are all pretty simple shapes, which is what I do when I create jigs and fixtures. I try to use simple shapes as much as possible. And the base, I already showed you. All of these components get put together onto the base. So there's the base, there's the hole for the cam, the back rail, the end stop, and I'll show you the whole assembly now. Here is the whole assembly. Oops. A little warning means I need to get the latest. Here we go, everything's updated now. So there's my fixture. I'm going to build this. And again, this was more an exercise of learning how to do things in Fusion 360, like creating jigs and fixtures. It comes in handy for me. And this jig, you could see there's the part, the Greene and Greene Drawer slide. I could zoom in on that. You could see that part in there. That's the draw slide. And, oops, something is out of scale here, but all right, so something happened in here and things were a little bit wacky. It's okay, because when I build a fixture, everything's going to work out all right. So I need to do some updating in the fixture. Not a big deal. That I can do easily. I understand it enough to be able to do that. So I'm not going to fart around with this too much more. But this is the cam, and what that's going to do is, come on, going to locate the part in between. You could see the little sections in here where you could see the curves, right? So then the cam, as I rotate the cam, a fully locked position would be straight in. I don't need to really do that. This spacer here, I can change the thickness of the spacer just by running it through the sander or whatever. And the other idea is to take this, I can't do it right now because I don't know enough about 360 yet, is to take, oops, come on, let's get out here. Still getting used to using Fusion 360. But this face here, I will turn 90 degrees and bank it up against that face and clamp against the top, so that I can do the finger pull pocket. So the whole thing is, I'm hoping that you can follow along. I don't know, this might be sounding like pretty weird and confusing. It's not to me. I've got the picture in my mind. I just wish I could display it clear enough so that everybody listening could understand what I'm talking about. Half the time, a lot of people don't follow me. But as I clamp this, right, I can clamp that fixture piece in place. Works just fine. Or I could take this apart, right, because this is just laying in there. There's nothing holding this in. It works like magic with the cam, but in reality, it's not going to work like that. This is just a free floating piece. I could take it out with my fingers. I could put another piece in with my fingers, change the spacing very, very easily in a matter of seconds, like not even seconds. But just take one out and put another one in. Yeah, I can move it that way, but um, getting used to what 360 does. Of course, I got to put a handle sticking in this diameter so that I can clamp and unclamp. I hope you get the picture. This is a very, very simple fixture. It was simple to design. I don't have a lot of really good details in here. If I was doing this in SolidWorks, I would have chamfers, nuts and bolts and screws, bearings, washers, the whole 9 yards. But I'm just learning how to use Fusion, so uh, this is my first ever. It's a milestone. My first ever fixture on Fusion 360. I'm going to build this fixture, and I'm going to use this fixture and see how it works out in the shop. I'm pretty confident that it would work pretty good. So at this point, here's my design. My design is done. It's going to be off to the shop and go ahead and build it. So I don't know if I'm going to get to that in this video. The next video, maybe, but this video is just showing you my fixture design. Okay, so carrying on to the next step where I say I'm going to take this and build it out in the shop. So what Fusion 360 has that SolidWorks does not have, Fusion 360 has incorporated into its software the ability to be able to machine some of the components. I'm going to shut off the assembly right here. Just, yeah, do I want to save changes? Yes, save it. I always save. So I'm just on the base right here. What I'm showing is the base, only the base. And I'm going to go into this manufacturing mode. And then here's the manufacturing part. When I click on the manufacturing part, I get a couple of different screens up here on the sides. And I've already put this together. So, and it took me a long time to put this together because I didn't know what I was doing with it. So on the side over here, you can see where I'm highlighting. It's got some different things that I can turn on and off. And what that does is you could see some stuff highlighted, these little green arrows and red things. And as I turn them on and off, you could see what gets turned on and off. This first one here is to clear out that slot. It's a kind of a new process for me. I'm not real familiar with it. I haven't used it before. It's called adaptive clearing, I guess. If I go up here to 2D, you can see that adaptive clearing, and when you click on it, you got a bunch of questions and queries and things that you have to answer. But that's the adaptive clearing. And then the next thing, I'll shut that off. I'll turn this one on. This creates my pocket. This does my finish cuts. So the adaptive clearing does kind of the rough cuts. It's a new process. I've never used adaptive clearing. I'm going to be interested in how it works out in the machine. But there's still some uncertainty that I have about some of the settings in Fusion 360, but I don't have any uncertainty as to what these operations do. So there's that finish. It does the finished sides of the slots, the finished sides of the bottom, so on and so forth. And then the last one here says circular. You could see where, I don't see it. But it does this, it shows some tools in there. what it does is it does this whole, I can't, for some reason I can't seem to select it, but it's just me learning. But it does the hole. That circular tube does the hole. So now if I go in to turn everything on, you can see it all turned on, except for I don't see anything in the hole. But again, it's gonna do it. I'm just learning how to do some of this display stuff. So if I go in here into this and I click on, right click, and I click on simulate, it's gonna simulate the whole shooting match. So it brings up my tool, and I could press this play button down at the bottom, and you could see that adaptive clearing working. And what it's doing is, from what I understand about it, is it keeps an even tool pressure. So as you could see, this front edge over here, let me try to slow this down. If I could slow it down. Oops, that's going backwards. If I could slow it down, kind of pause it, you could see right in here how much engagement the tool has in the material. So from the tangency point of the end mill to this leading edge, there's a constant engagement of that tool in that material. It's not like if it's going to go do a slotting cut, you're going to drive that slot right through the slot with a slotting cut, just a straight line motion, like you see in my finishing tool path. That straight line motion engages like 100% of the cutter. So that makes that first cut where it's plowing through is one heavy cut, trying to remove a lot of material. So this one here, adaptive clearing, is it engages that tool at a constant tool engagement. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but that's my best explanation of it. So when I click play, it just clears that out all the way down. That's why you see all those little circles in there. Clears that out, goes up, clears out the rest of it, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know how it's going to work in the machine. We'll see it as it goes through. Good coffee. You can't see that. You can't taste it, but I can. So here we go with the adaptive clearing, getting almost to the end over here. And as it gets to the end, see, it's still doing that constant amount of engagement with the tool. And it's going to start clearing out these little corners and stuff. And that's what it does. I mean, this is pretty awesome, I think, you know. Pretty sure we're going to come down and clear this other little corner out over here. So, and it stays with this constant engagement. It doesn't ever go and plow through. I wouldn't want to write this G code by hand. Goodness gracious me. That's the nice thing about these computerized things. Now it's coming through to do the slotting cut, just to finish up the sides and the bottom. So that's that. And then it's going to come in and do the hole. Come on. Let's go. Do the hole. Okay, so that's why I didn't show the hole, because it's not doing a hole. I have to go fix that. So again, I don't understand what happened there. I don't know why it didn't do it. But that's, let me go see something here. If I try to just simulate that, nothing. Toolpath has no sections. Let's go and let's click on that and say OK. Faces selected to machine. So I don't know what's going on with it. So there we go. What's this? Now let's try simulate that hole. Nothing. Alright, for some reason it's not doing that hole. I'm not too much worried about it. This is good for the video. You could see that lots of stuff I don't know. I'm human. I make mistakes. So at any rate, we'll go back to the Greg's ta-ta for now.